This is such an important question, how to honor your feelings, especially as an adult with immigrant parents, right? Where maybe our feelings weren't talked about as much or weren't given the time and space that it needed growing up, or even as an adult now, right? So these are such important questions on how to honor your feelings, how to create space for yourself to process these emotions, to feel these feelings. And, what is one thing that you can start doing today to start honoring your feelings more? And we'll talk about that in this episode. So stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to the Empowered with Immigrant Parents podcast. I am your host, Allison Lee, and if this is your first time listening, thank you so much for being here and choosing to spend time with me today. Today, I am talking about an event that I had just participated in and attended yesterday, so May 10th, 2026. It is 2026, and it was Honor Your Feelings Fest held by Asian Mental Health Project. And this is their 4th year doing it, and every time I see them post about it, talk about it, it's just so amazing, and I'm so excited to have been able to be a part of the panelists and really participate in it this year. So it's a wellness festival aiming to deepen the conversation around mental health in the Pan-Asian community. And it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful day. It was outdoors at the Japanese American Cultural and Community Center in LA. And it was windy, so even though it was hot, the breeze really helped. But after some time, it got pretty hot. And, after there was a meditation, and props to anyone who can meditate anywhere, because the meditation was going, and of course it's outdoors, so a fire truck went by, right, and all this noise. But isn't that the beauty of being able to meditate, where no matter what is happening outside, you can still kind of feel peaceful and calm inside, and really take from it what you will. And I think being a mom as well, some of that is also relevant when your kids and people are calling for your attention and whatnot. How do we have that inner peace, right? But anyway, I thought that was so funny and such a good practice to really go inwards despite all the noises and chaos outside, right? And of course, it all takes practice. It's not like we don't hear it and it just comes super naturally to everyone, but it takes practice, as does everything in life. So there was that. I was only able to stay for part of it just because it was also Mother's Day and I wanted to come home with my kids. And after my panel, I got to, which I will talk about 2 questions I want to share with you today. 2 things that I might have shared on stage, and another question that I didn't get to share that I just want to share with you all today here. And the 2 questions, 2 topics are about how to create space for yourself to process memories or emotions, and what practical tool or mindset shift do I want to share with you. So I'll get to that in a little bit. After the panel, we got to do this Bollywood dance as somatic healing, and while it went on for much longer than my body was able to handle, because I've been recovering from this food poisoning that somehow has really inflamed my whole body. So my knees are swollen, so when it hurts to pick up something, or my hands are swollen, my fingers. So anyway, I didn't stay for the whole thing, but for the time that I was doing the dance, it was so nice, and it was such a great reminder to actually just move our bodies. And it doesn't have to be so serious, right, where it has to be this rigid exercise all the time, but it was so beautiful to just be able to move and stretch my body. And if my body, despite the swollenness and inflammation that I was going through, felt so good during the movement. And I just really encourage you, maybe as you're listening to this episode right now, to really move as you do it in a fun way. And I was just thinking about how I even make exercise so serious sometimes and I don't even do it. So gotta find ways to make it fun, and I hope you do that. But anyway, I really enjoyed that. And like I said, it was sunny, but there was a breeze, so it was nice to have that breeze, and the music was amazing. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And, there was a lot of mental health resources around, as well as activities to do, like there was the booths on like what brings you joy, and to make origami and conversation starters, create reflections. My friend and I got to do our oracle reading, and that was interesting. There was also like a beautiful art display by Faith and Young, who was on the panel with me, and it was so beautiful. There was one in particular that like got me so emotional, and it was just, art is just amazing, and I'm not much of a artist, so it was really cool to see. And anyway, I think I really enjoyed the event, and the name in of itself, Honor Your Feelings, is so like important, so valid, and I hope that we do that, outside of the event. So which leads me to one of the things I wanted to reiterate here that I did share on stage. Why honoring our feelings is so important, especially as adults with immigrant parents, is that, adults with immigrant parents particularly have a harder time having the practice of sharing, knowing, and feeling their feelings. Sometimes it's really hard because, stereotypically in the Asian communities especially, feelings aren't really talked about, right? And if we think about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, which is this pyramid that shows if we are able to meet the needs at the bottom of the pyramid, where eventually can move upwards, and at the bottom is like survival, basic needs, money, finances, security, and as we achieve each of those things, we can move up to like focusing on having good relationships and focus on like being our truest self, and achieving our fullest potential, right? That's me paraphrasing, but a lot of times when we are children of immigrant parents, there's a lot of times that we're in that bottom parts of the pyramid where we're just surviving. So sometimes talking about feelings is not available, and if our parents didn't have that space also to practice, how are they supposed to know how to ask us and support us also, right, in knowing our feelings and feeling our feelings? And then you bring in the language component of not being able to like understand what an emotion is first of all, and then how do you say it in, for example, for me, Vietnamese and English. I to this day have a hard time identifying emotions in Vietnamese, and I can Google it, and I can I'm the most equipped now to obtain that information and share that information with my parents, and it's still hard, right? And then like to them it may mean something different as well. And also in English, right? Like just because I tell you I'm sad, like your definition of sad could be different than mine, and where I am on the severity or the intensity of how sad I am could also be very different than what you are when you're at the same level, right? And how that shows up for you may be different than how it shows up for me. So like there's so much nuance in that already to gain an accurate understanding of a feeling in the same language, let alone when you have to like move it over to another language, and then also on top of that, if there isn't the practice of it, that just adds so many layers. So I think it's really important to really think about our feelings, and the answer to the question of how to create space for yourself or others to process memory, emotions, or healing. My answer was to really ask yourself how you are feeling at least 3 times. Because especially adults with immigrant parents, and I don't know if I mentioned, sorry, but the panel that I was on was called Honor Your Motherhood. So a lot of this was geared towards motherhood, but even if you're not a mother or a parent, I think this still applies, where a lot of times adults with immigrant parents have a hard time knowing what they need, right? If they hadn't been asked the questions again and hadn't had the space to think about what they want and to share what they want, right? And then to actually get what they want and feel okay feeling their feelings. So a lot of times when adults with immigrant parents get asked, what are you feeling? It becomes very head-centered, meaning it's like, I think I feel this way because the coffee spilled, or like, I think I should have done this because mom wanted that, or this is what they were feeling and I should have done that. So there's a lot of like thinking about other people, and this happens to moms too. Not all moms, and of course this is not saying this happens to everyone, but generally speaking, it is very difficult to kind of zoom in on what it is they're feeling easier, right? And with that, it again, it just takes practice. So I want you, when you're struggling to know what you're feeling, ask yourself it at least 3 times, more if you need to, but at the minimum, just like really dig deep and focus on you, right? So imagine like a inverted pyramid at the top. The first time you ask it is pretty broad. You're listing all these things you're thinking about. You're listing all these things that people told you about. And then you ask it again and you narrow it down, kind of like a little funnel. And then you'll get to what it is that you're actually feeling. And I want to also caveat that with the fact that just because I'm asking you for one feeling, it doesn't mean that you're only feeling one feeling. It's kind of hard to just feel one feeling at a time. Like currently, at this moment, I am tired, but I'm also excited to talk. I'm also a little uncomfortable, so let me move. In how I was sitting, and I am also like pretty calm, right? So there's all these different emotions that we're feeling at the same time within the question of how are you feeling. So also don't get bogged down to like, I am 100% happy right now. I'm 100% sad right now, right? Just know that you have this pie chart of emotions, and that is totally okay. And even if you just highlight that you feel 20% sad or 20% happy or proud or 20% uncomfortable, which I like, for me, that was how uncomfortable I was. Not that much, but enough for me to want to move, right? And that's okay. So ask yourself the question at least 3 times. Think of the inverted pyramid, think of a funnel, and really get yourself to like the feelings. And again, you can have more than one feeling. I think that's super, super important. And another tip for that is to really listen to your body. Like, what is going on in your body? Like I mentioned earlier, it's very easy to become focus on our thoughts, focus on what we're thinking, focus on, whatever it is that's logical. And our bodies can also be clues to like telling us what we need, whether it's like a headache, a tension in our shoulders, or if we're feeling like sluggish. Like, sure, there could be other contributing factors, right? Just like the emotion pie chart. And also that could also be telling you something. So just pay attention to that. And I think that, again, everything just takes practice. You don't have to always do this in the moment. You can do it after the fact and just see what comes up for you, and just be very curious, be very kind to yourself about this, because this is how you honor your feelings. This is how you really create space to just like increase your awareness even more, because I'm sure you are so aware, but even more, and to this specific situation, because each situation could be unique. And each time that you think about a past situation, that can also still bring up different emotions than it did the last time, just because of what you're feeling in this current state, and also the lived experiences that you've had, or the new thoughts and new interactions that you've experienced since the last time you are thinking about this experience can change how it affects you currently, right? Everything is so fluid, and we just want to give yourself, please, the compassion and space to really be curious and just observe, acknowledge, and validate, right? Validate meaning, oh, I feel this way, and that's okay. Validate how you feel. So that was the answer to that question of how to create space for yourself, to really honor your feelings. And I hope you try that. Let me know how it goes for you. Okay, so the second question, what is one practical tool or mindset shift that I want to offer to mothers in similar dynamics, or just to you today? If I had to give you one only, I mean, there are so many things I can talk about. And what motherhood has taught me and has given me and is blessing me with is to really acknowledge the fact that I'm still a kid. I'm a kid in an adult body. And if you are a parent, or you know what, whatever age you are, whatever lived experiences you have, I would say most people are still kids in an adult. And how can you have more fun? How can you have more play on top of all the adult things, all the things that you have to do for your mom, for your dad, for your family, for your kids, for work, for your friends, for yourself? Like, practically, how can you have more play? And I was saying that motherhood has really blessed me with this because my daughter always wants to play, right? Actually both of them would always come up to me and like want to play with me. And they're just simple activities, but it brings, especially my oldest, so much joy, and I get to experience that too. Now, I can't always play because I have adult things to do, but when I do, it just like warms my heart a little bit, right? And I think about, oh, what was I like a kid? I wonder, and it kind of reminds me of times where my mom would play with me, or times I played with other people, right? And it's just a little hug to my heart. And I really appreciate that. And you know, a lot of times adults with immigrant parents get parentified and have been parentified since young because of the repay cycle, which I talked about in other podcast episodes. But essentially this repay cycle of wanting to give back to our family, to our parents, and some of that pressure is external, like the schools and our family expects us to do these things. Sometimes it's internal pressure to want to support our family. Whatever it is, when we're in that repay cycle, it's kind of hard to like have play sometimes, right? And then we're in this role, and it may take over or be very prominent in other parts of our lives where we're so responsible, so committed to helping, or you know, like just needing to do and have all this work to prove ourselves or to help people. So the play part gets really small sometimes. So I hope for you remember that you're still a kid. You can still be a kid and play, right? Like do things that make you happy, even if it's just for like 10 seconds, like playing with a little like kid toy, right? Even if you just hold it up and you're like, oh, this was fun. And you like push the car around or whatever it is. I'm looking at a car right now for like a minute, and it's still play. The other part of it is to really talk to yourself as if you are a child. Sure, we all have our moments, especially as parents, where we don't say the most quote-unquote appropriate things in the appropriate moment because we are all human. right? We're all human, so we can't be this like robotic, happy, if a robot were happy, sounding person all the time to every request in spite of all the things that we have to do. So I'm not talking about the moments that like we're not so proud of, but in general, in a good moment, when you are able to respond in a way that's kind and compassionate to your child, to a kid, to a niece, to a nephew, to someone else that you actually really care about, like how do you talk to them? You know, something that I think about when I talk to my kid is, it's okay. You're just learning. Everyone needs to practice. Everyone does this. Everyone makes mistakes, right? That kind of talk. How can we talk to ourselves like a young child that we care about and we want to support? Would we be like, I cannot believe you did that. You are so stupid. And like I said, I am talking more about in the moments that we are not too overwhelmed or too stressed, okay? So that is the offer for you to really incorporate more play into your life, even if it's just for a little bit, and to talk to yourself as if you were a kid. Your self-talk is so, so important, and I hope that you give yourself that kindness and love and compassion and understanding, grace that you would give to a young person or just to someone else that you love, right? And I think these are two very good places. I gave you more than two things, but in terms of two, I mean the two questions I answered. Two very good places to start with honoring your feelings and to really take care of yourself and just practice, because that's all we have to do. Everything takes practice, even when you're 70, 80, when you're 2, when you're 13, right? Everything just requires some practice, and that is okay. All right, thank you so much for joining and listening to me today. I'm hoping to share more about some of these answers that I thought of while preparing for this panel, and I have such amazing guests coming up soon. I am so excited to share them with you. I won't spoil the surprises now, but I'm so excited for these upcoming guests as well. So subscribe if you haven't, so you can get this sent straight to your phone, and follow me on Instagram, hey Allison Lee, or better yet, get on my email community. If you want to join my Adults with Immigrant Parents email community, which is free, head on over to heyallisonlee.com/email, and that'll be in the show notes as well, but I'll talk to you there, and I'll see you. Oh, I won't see you. I will talk to you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. I appreciate you being here. Just as a reminder, all information on this is intended to be informational and educational only. Although I am a licensed therapist, I am not your therapist. If you are looking for any medical or mental health services, please reach out to providers local to your area and seek out information that is specific for you. This information is not intended to replace any medical or mental health services that you may benefit from, and I hope that you enjoyed the information that was provided on the show today, and I'll see you on the next episode.